So if we can please give a warm Movable welcome to Cara Fallon and Alex Manley.
Thank you so much for joining this conversation today. We're really excited to have you here. I'm joined by Cara Fallon, who has been working within enterprise communications and capabilities at American Express as the director for that team. She's got 20 years experience in financial services. Yeah, not to, there we go. That deserves a clap. 20 years experience in financial services marketing, and she really takes pride in putting a customer first with a customer first approach to product management and communications. I'm really delighted to be here. And I might just start with a show of hands. Have we got any Amex card members in the room? Raise your hand. Quite a few of you. That's excellent.
Oh, some hands are not.
That corner's busy because they're all from Amex. Okay, so many of you will be familiar with Amex as a brand. For those of you that aren't as familiar, Amex is obviously a globally leading financial services company, but you can also think about it as a lifestyle brand, as a membership organization, and it really spans the spectrum of travel, retail, dining, and being with their card members every step of the way. So when we talk about the win-win value exchange, we're really talking across that entire spectrum. And from a marketing perspective, Amex are often held up as leaders in the space. And speaking to our partnership at Movable, Amex have been working on personalization for well over a decade now, and have really been pioneering kind of real-time data and bringing personalization into digital comms for a very long time. So I'm excited to get into this conversation. So I mentioned Amex as a lifestyle brand, and one of the core programs among many is something that Amex called Amex Offers, which really underpins that brand value. So Cara, I might start by asking, for those that aren't familiar, what is Amex Offers?
Yeah, sure. First of all, hello everyone. Thanks for having me. So Amex Offers is one of the flagship programs in the company. It's really working towards driving card member and merchant values in the sense of driving spend with the card in the merchant locations through giving them an offer. So there are a few features of the program that I can kind of call out a little bit. If you have the Amex card, if you have opted into marketing, then you might have received some of our emails in the past, actually every month. So the program is in a way where we have a few features. One of them is the offers that are personalized to the theme of the day, meaning there are many offers on channel, but the way, like the offers that you see on channel are ranked differently in a one-to-one relationship. So the offers that Alex would see on her email, for example, would likely be different from those that I see, because we have different spending patterns, lookalike behavior, and all those things. So the personalization is really in the content of the program. It also is being distributed through a multi-channel approach. So the same offers in the cyberspace get distributed to our email channel, the mobile, and the web channel. So it is a kind of consistent content and behavior across those channels. I think the other really cool things about this program, especially when we started it like 13 years ago, was that it is really an end-to-end automated experience for both the card member and the merchant. Meaning, I remember the old days, as Alex mentioned, 20 years, where you need to bring a coupon code to a merchant and hope that the staff are trained and know what is going on. So with Amex Offers, there's nothing the merchant really needs to do. There's nothing in the POS terminal or staff training that they need to tell the staff that you need to honor this offer. And for the card member, all they need to do is to enroll to the offer on our channel, which we will talk about a little bit more. And then just use the card at the merchant. Everything is seamless. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to do anything else. And then once you have used the card at the merchant location, then the statement credit usually, which is a dollar value amount, such as like spend $10, get £10, get like £5 back, for example, that will automatically be credited back to your card account. So it's completely, totally seamless experience, multi-channel, with this whole proposition to create a win for merchant, win for card members, and win for us experience for everyone.
I love the idea of kind of having thousands of offers available in your wallet that you don't have to faff around with looking in your handbag to try and figure that out. And I'm sure we haven't done that for a long time now because brands have caught up, but Amex were really pioneering this a long time ago. So you're not having to think about when you're getting that value, you're seeing it on your statement in real time as it moves through on a monthly basis. Thank you for sharing that. You mentioned a little bit about multi-channels. Can you kind of dive a little bit deeper into why that kind of real-time aspect is really important across those key digital channels?
Yeah, sure. So the real-time, what we say real-time essentially means at the time of interacting with the channel. So in the case of email, is when you open the email. It is essentially the way of, say, thinking the email not as an electronic version of a DM. It is, I think the previous speakers also mentioned, is a living and breathing channel that delivers real-time, up-to-the-minute content only when you interact with the channel. So the offer's availability are accurate. If it is sold out, if it is expired, you won't see them on channel. It's also obviously ranked according to the personalization algorithm up to the minute as well. So you see relevant content for you. I think the other really clever way about this real-time content, especially my team comes from more of a capability organization, so we're not marketing team. So through that capability, the data is only kind of being called on demand. So that means if card members are not opening the email, we are not pre-generating those content for the card member. So it is actually, if you think about it, it is a more efficient way in the tech stack to manage data capacity because data is only needed or being generated for the content display if and when the email is opened or if and when someone accesses the app. So if on the screen you can see the actual email, this is an example. We sent it out once a month. And all the offers are ranked, like the email actually itself is quite long. I think there are about 6 to 8 offers, and they're ranked according to what we think are most relevant to you. And I think other than the content in the way where it is real-time, dynamic, one-to-one relationship, it also, the second area that I would like to call out is the experience with the customer engagement doesn't start or finish with the email. The email is a step to take you to the next, which is obviously we want you to enroll to the offer, or in some other use cases, we want you to convert to pick up a product or something. So if you look at the call to action button, it says save to cart, which is one of the features of the program where you don't automatically get the offer by just spending with the card. You need to proactively actually enroll to the offer, which is also a very clever way to help us to measure engagement because these are not organic, accidental spend anyway. These are people who want to make use of the offer. But through the personalization doesn't stop at the email. It actually is behind the call to action button as well. When you click the button, we actually know who you are. So like if Alex clicks the button, the clever coding behind the button enables what we call a one-click offer enrollment experience, which is literally what it says. You click it once, it gives you a thank you page for enrolling to the offer. There's no need to to enroll, log into our online account. You don't need to provide your user ID, password to prove to us who you are again. Because that would be a process in the journey that causes a lot of dropouts, right? And who remembers that login anyway? There's
nothing more annoying than that, right? Who are you? You already know.
Yeah, so it would also defeat the purpose of a personalized email in a way we're saying, well, we know who you are, but actually when you want the offer, I need you to prove to me who you are again. That is quite, it doesn't really flows well. So the way how the call to action works together with the personalized content and the movable technology to enable a really seamless offer enrollment journey experience.
I love the idea of the email being a living and breathing channel. We think about our website as something that's kind of always on and something that's updated really regularly, and our emails sometimes are treated as a little bit like a static DM, right? But treating it as a living, breathing document that's really kind of can stand side by side to your app and to your website is really important. And I'm thinking about how Amex really prioritize that card member journey, whether it's when a card member goes into store or when someone's on the email, and using this email as a platform feels really important to have that consistency. I'm also thinking about the scale that Amex operates within. So this is one example of a use case, and Amex has over 100 million card members worldwide, some of them in this room. You guys were pioneering the use of this technology for over a decade and have kind of come to very sophisticated iterations of this email. Can you share a little bit around how you kind of got to that scale? Perhaps what were the best practices that you learned along the way?
Definitely. I think we have a lot of learning. Hopefully, I think we call it best practice, but maybe some of those might resonate with some of you in the room. The program has been for quite long. I think I mentioned around 13 years. It started quite small with just one use case in one market with pretty simple, straightforward way of using it. And then it went through a phase where it kind of organically grew, slightly uncontrollably, I would say, into something much bigger with many more use cases, many more markets. And the problem, I think, is then complexity. The technology is really cool. The program is great, but there's a lot of data, and that does also mean the way our creativity and the creativity in the marketing teams start to get a little bit wild in a way where the use case gets really complex. And then the errors in the email experience could happen a bit more, and also then the reusability or, the scaling is difficult. So reusability of, the data logic, the creative, is going hand in hand with scalability. So there might be a balance between how dynamic or how sophisticated, customized do you want to build for every campaign, versus where are the areas that you could kind of think about templatizing and reusing. So for example, with this email, it's actually really clever. The frame of the email is built in a way where marketing decide, where's the hero image, the offer hierarchy, number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on. That frame, that HTML, is being used and reused on a monthly basis. We actually don't need to do any extra coding, creative development, or whatsoever. There's a lot of cost efficiency in that process. And as a marketing campaign owner, you just have to kind of leave it with the algorithm to determine actually what goes into every content modules and slots within that email. So it is really a way to help us to achieve scalability in a more efficient way. And also then marketing can focus on doing other campaigns rather than having to recreate something on a monthly basis. So I think scalability is thinking about templatizing, reusability are really helpful. They kind of also go hand in hand with some governance and guardrails, like what use case could access these type of advanced capability, coming ideally together with value articulation, which would comes from your A/B testing, your measurements. How do you iterate and test over time to articulate the value and prove the ROI? So I think, for example, in this email you see, we tested on with an A/B testing. The personalized content and the seamless call to action experience together drove a 48% engagement lift, which is quite significant, and it really helps to make the case for expanding the program.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Cara is in a global role, and Amex, across 100 million plus card members, is live in multiple markets. And so the benefit of kind of bringing that scalability with the governance, the templatization from Cara's team really benefits each of those international markets and the US markets as well. So what Cara is able to deliver, and Cara's team as well, is a time save. So those marketers can then think about what are the important problems they want to solve next, but at the same time kind of sitting in that seat thinking, okay, I want to relinquish some of that control, but I'm not going to relinquish all of that control. So making sure that the governance is in place so things don't run wild across the organization of 60,000 people that work in various offices across American Express. Thanks for sharing that. So if that's kind of massive global scale and the things that you've learned across those 13 years, I'm thinking about the audience and some of the folks that might be kind of more on the left-hand side of that graph, maybe at the beginning of their personalization journey, and perhaps starting a little bit smaller. Are there any tips and tricks that you want to leave them with before we close in a few minutes? No pressure.
I think it is maybe a bit more of recapping what we have already discussed in some way. I think 13 years ago, if we were to start again, maybe we would have worked a little bit more on, it's easy to say it in hindsight, but think a bit more about envisioning what that scale would look like and how do you get there and where are the guardrails and the measurement that should, form part of the journey. It's a popular capability for marketing because it's so dynamic, it drives results, it's fun, it's interesting. So there's going to be a level of organic demand that can go way ahead of any kind of program structure and governance that can be put in place. So I would say really have a think or envision how to get to that scaled journey. How would that look like? What are the measures that should be in place, such as, again, measurements, metrics, testing, proving the value into, growing to the next step. And some of the technical capability that could be in place to help manage the scale in terms of, say, for example, data capacity, because it's a real-time interaction. That means there's a two-way call happening during that millisecond of email open. And if there is suddenly a very popular campaign and everybody decides to open the email at the same time, it's going to create a lot of data stress to some of your back-end system, and it could cause, the email's not loading, and it's a poor customer experience. Not to mention causing, a lot of problem with your engineering. So I think foresee how the program grow, not just in terms of, how many markets, how many customers you're going to reach, but also really the back-end capability. How is it going to cope and grow alongside with your front-end customer experience? And how does that scalability holistically look like?
Yeah, so it sounds like kind of getting test and learning, and I know from experience in working with you that means partnering with other teams. So it might be partnering with marketers in the market, it might be with the engineering team, and kind of being okay with not doing it alone and starting with what you have today, but also having that line of sight on what is this going to look like in the future? What guardrails do we need in place? What pillars are going to underpin how we deliver some of this as we grow and as we scale?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right, that sounds like a good place to close. I'm really excited to see how this evolves. This is 13 years in the making, and it's delivering some solid results. So here's to 13 more. Thanks so much for joining us today, Cara.
Thank you.